What an incredible weekend of Six Nations rugby. Closing out round 4, the Wales versus France game just ended. But we're going to start out first with Italy. Italy versus Scotland. That was an incredible match, and big congratulations to Italy and breaking that 11-year drought of not winning. And it was a very tough game. They played prideful, they played passionate, they played strong and gritty rugby, and it was a lot of fun to watch. Just seeing like the spirit that they had playing in front of that home stadium in Rome and having that fan base behind them. It was so much incredible energy that went into that match, and I absolutely loved every moment of it. And it was just cool seeing, all the Twitter feed blow up and just seeing like the celebration. You could see they were just like overpouring of pride and like bursting with like accomplishment in that game. So that was a lot of fun to watch. I feel that, the better team did win this weekend with the Italy game, and Scotland was just looking a little bit out of sorts, so to speak. I think Scotland played on their heels most of the game, and that was due to the pressure that Italy was putting on them, right? Scotland tried to force their will or impart their will on Italy, but Italy's defense was looking very strong. They were looking cohesive, and they were really playing their type of rugby. Like, they were dictating the pace of the game from beginning to end. So I felt like overall, like Italy from the start of the game to the end of the game, they stayed consistent. Their pace was fast. They were fluid. They were like cohesive. And what I thought was gonna come back and end up biting Italy was Garbisi missing those kicks, like the failed conversion that Garbisi had. I thought missing those points were going to come back to bite Italy, and they almost did, right? They almost did, but they showed enough resilience and tenacity to fight back and get everything going. I just think that Italy played such an incredibly brilliant game, and it was a lot of fun to watch them do well and finally win. I just think the nation needed it. The team has, from my perspective, after watching the Six Nations documentary and really investing my time in learning the game and the nations and the players and teams and the organization all the way from the top down, I feel that Italy's putting all the right pieces in play from the top down with the coaching staff that they have, with the lineups that they have. They have a young under 20 team that's excelling, and I feel like they're a nation that's finally turning the corner in a sense of the world of rugby. And it's fun to see because, like I've mentioned in other videos, I heard they were in discussion of getting kicked out of Six Nations because of their poor performance through the decades. And it's cool to see them get that win. It's a well-deserved one, and it's going to be fun to see how Scotland bounces back next week against who do they have next week? They have Ireland next week. So it's going to be fun to see how Scotland versus Ireland ends up next week. And it's going to be an exciting Saturday of rugby. It's going to be a long, exciting day of rugby, and I'm excited to see how Six Nations turns out. But the game ended with Italy winning 31-29 over Scotland, and I just had so much fun watching it. And the game that just really blew my mind this weekend, that blew my mind, I was up here jumping in the chair, going crazy, bursting at the seams, was England versus Ireland. The score was 23-22. England winning the match on the final play of the game. We had Marcus Smith with that beautiful drop kick, and Ireland was playing with a man down. They got that yellow card, but the setup from that pitch back, and Marcus Smith just created enough space and room to execute such a beautiful drop kick. I was sitting here bursting out the seams, and that match was so fun to watch. That was the England that I've been expecting to see when I started rugby. I've heard how strong they are as a team and a unit, and that's the way they played yesterday was what I was expecting to see from them throughout this tournament. And I finally feel like they lived up to their talent, to the talent that they have on the team, to their incredible, I think their history, right? Ben Earl, I have to give a massive shout out to Ben Earl. He played an exceptional game. The play I remember was when he had that incredible solo effort breaking downfield. I don't know how many meters he broke, but he had just an exceptional match, and I have to pull up the stat sheet on him. But he was a lot of fun to watch. Marcus Smith with the win to catch up for the spread that, unfortunately, and I'm gutted, George Ford had a horrible game. George Ford played, probably the worst match of his life. that I've seen, and left 5 points on the field that luckily Marcus Smith was able to cover his spread with his conversion and that drop goal to win the game. But man, it was just sad to see. He just looked out of form. Like even when he was trying to kick the ball to get it to advance the position in the try zone, he kicked it only like 10 meters and didn't put England in a good position. And so it was sad to see him have such a rough game. And that's why that substitution between him and Smith was good, and it's fortunate that it played out because there was a lot of points left on the field that could have really come back to haunt England in that one. And I feel like Ireland played a strong game, but I feel they look flustered. That was the first time I've actually seen the Irish team play a flustered game of rugby. Every time I've seen them in this entire tournament, they've looked incredibly cohesive, strong, powerful, unstoppable, absolutely unstoppable. Bundy Alki had an incredible game. James Lowe had an amazing game. Wow, like that man is amazing. He's really stood out to me, and Crowley did an exceptional job as well, getting his kicks and his conversions. So England, I feel they played well with the players that I've mentioned, but there was a point where in the second half they looked like they lost their style of rugby. They looked a little bit scattered, they looked flustered, and they looked out of sorts and just weren't able to put it together. And that late yellow card where they were playing a man down really set them back. And that kick, the kick, for the life of me, I'm failing to remember the name of the Irishman who kicked the ball that gave England that position. That's so unfortunate. That's so unfortunate play that happened that set England up for that game-winning drop goal. But it was a lot of fun to watch, and it's the first time I've seen a team besides France in the first week putting that type of pressure on Ireland and just making them play out of their nature, right? They played out of sorts, and we'll see how they bounce back against Scotland next week. That's going to be the deciding game for the Six Nations, I feel, and it's just going to be, that's going to be the deciding game for Six Nations, and we're going to see how it all plays out. I've got to pull up the rankings. Let me pull up the rankings really quickly just so I can get a better look at what we have by the end of the day break. Oh, well, we actually have Ireland is 1, England is 2, Scotland is 3, France is 4 with their victory, Italy is 5, and Wales unfortunately just had a letdown today with they're looking like a wooden spoon material right now. And so it's gonna be interesting to see see how it all plays out if England can win the Six Nations, but Scotland could come up with the upset. But we'll have to see how that one all turns out right now. And going into the final game of the weekend, which was probably the biggest letdown. Going into the weekend, I picked my upset pick for Wales versus France. The game ended up being Wales losing. The score was 45-24, France being the victor. I picked Wales as my upset pick of the weekend, and I thought it was going to happen. They had an incredible start to the match. The pace was just blazing speed. Both France and Wales, they were going back and forth. It was like a slugfest starting it out in the first half. And Rio Dyer, he played an exceptional game in my mind. He is really a player that I've been watching this Six Nations. I like his style, like the way he's able to navigate the field and just create openings and spacings. He's just a lot of fun to watch. And I feel that Wales was doing a fantastic job of exposing the French defense. There were those two of the tries that Wales had. There was a gap that was exposed, and Wales was able to just hit the lane and just have an open season to the try, right? And there were two situations where that happened where, France left such an opening and Wales just essentially did what we call like a quarterback sneak through the middle. If we're talking American football, just basically quarterback snuck it through those lanes, had open field all day, and were able to score. And so I feel Wales was doing an incredible job at exposing some weaknesses in the French defense, especially in the first part of the game in the first half. But in the second half, it was just a huge letdown on Wales' part. And I think it was just a huge, France really stepped up in the second half. They put a lot of pressure on Wales, and Gaël Fickou was playing an incredible game. The entire French team just looked like it clicked. It looked like it finally clicked, and they finally got into form. That form that I've been hearing about that they had going into the World Cup. where they were looked at as like one of the greatest teams, or like one of the best teams in the world at that point. And they finally, it looked like today it just finally started gelling and started clicking, and especially in that second half is when it all started to come together. And what I was seeing, they were making good strategic plays. They looked like they had their strategy was on point, their teamwork was flowing, and they were just started overpowering Wells. And by I think by the 60th minute, with about 20 minutes left in the game, Wells just started looking like they were just beaten up. They looked tired, they looked slow, they looked lethargic. And I think it was just due to the pressure, the pace that France was impressing upon them. Because for the better part, I would say the majority of the second half, France was threatening Wells' try line the entire time. Wells played on their heels in their own zone pretty much the entire second half, so they didn't give themselves any room for error. They didn't give them a chance to breathe. And when they tried to kick the ball and get an advantage, for the life of me, the French player batted the ball down and got the block, and then chased it down with that bounce, was able to ground it and get the try. And that's when it just really unraveled, and France just started to pull away and make the game look easy. And just Wells just looked like they were just, they lost leadership, is what I feel. They lost leadership in that second half. They looked like they started breaking apart. Their offense started fragmenting. Their defense that was standing up strong in that first half started to break down. They looked tired. They were getting overpowered in the scrum, and they were having huge letdowns on their defense and just leaving lanes open. And by the end of the match, it was just they just looked like a broken team to me by that end. So we're gonna see how Wells does next week. I know they play Italy, and they have a chance to fight Italy off and potentially get the win. But we'll see how it goes. I think my initial pre-picks going into this weekend, I may change them as we go, but I have Ireland beating Scotland. I have England beating France. If England shows up the way they showed up this weekend, I think they can blow the doors off of France. I have Italy beating Wales. I feel like Italy is overall looking better, and I feel like they've progressed through the Six Nations and continued to improve every single game at this point. And so right now I feel like they're doing and looking better than Wales. But that's my initial picks going into this weekend. I have Ireland winning, I have England winning, and I have Italy winning. Those are my three picks right now, and it's going to be a lot of exciting rugby to watch. It's going to be a full Saturday. I'm going to be streaming all the matches back to back to back. It's going to go from my time 7 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon, so it's going to be incredible watching those matches and connecting with you. And I just appreciate all your love and support, Qrew. It's been exceptional getting stuck into this beautiful game of rugby, connecting with you in this community. You've been just so friendly and welcoming to me, and just have taught me so much. And I've been doing a lot of studying and learning the game and giving it the respect it deserves. And I'm going to get out to every single country. We're going to connect in person. We're going to watch these matches live, and we're going to continue to grow in this space, Qrew. I want to go to every country and experience the atmosphere of every stadium in the world. And there's some other places I want to visit on the world rugby map, and just really get familiar with the countries and players in those nations as well. And then we'll start continuing down to the club level and just learning as much as I can, Qrew. But I really appreciate you. I love you. Exceptional weekend of rugby. My game of the weekend was England. That was my game of the weekend. That was my highlight, just because of the drama, the electricity, I was on the edge of my seat that game. The last 20 minutes of that match was just, oh my gosh, my heart was beating out of my chest. I thought when Ireland scored, when James Lowe scored his last try, I was like, oh, there's no way England's gonna bounce back from this. And they did. They proved me wrong, and they looked strong. So congratulations to England. Congratulations to Italy. That was my second match of the weekend. Just the way they played with so much spirit, pride, and cohesion. I loved the way they played the game of rugby, and it was just beautiful to see them break that streak. And I believe it's 11 years, and correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, Qrew. As always, I love being corrected if I'm wrong, and hearing your feedback. It helps me immensely learn the game and continue to educate myself on this with all of your help, Qrew, and also my self-study. And I think my snoozer game of the weekend had to be Wales and France. France looked incredibly strong. Wales looked soft this weekend. So hopefully we can have a strong weekend upcoming with the last 3 games of this Six Nations and close it out on a solid note and see how it all ends up. But now we know there's going to be no Grand Slam, which is an interesting caveat, because what it was, Ireland would have had, was it been back-to-back Grand Slams, I believe. So yeah, correct me if I'm wrong on that one as well, Qrew. But it's good. I'm excited to see what happens. Congratulations to France. Congratulations to England. Congratulations to Italy on the massive wins this weekend. And I'm gutted for the nations that lost. You know, Wales, I'm absolutely gutted for you. Ireland, just a tough way to lose. That's just a hard way to lose. And you know, Scotland. You know, Scotland looked out of sorts, but man, what an incredible weekend of rugby, Qrew. That was so enjoyable to watch. I'm loving it. I'm having so much fun, and we will catch you on the next video, Qrew. I'm excited to close the Six Nations out strong, and then rolling into next year, get to visit the countries and view Six Nations in person. That's going to be the absolute goal and dream right there, Qrew. But I love you. I appreciate you. Have an incredible week. Always remember to stay laser focused on your dreams and your vision, and remember that you're in control. Love you, Qrew. Peace.